So, hi everybody, hi Facebook. I hope you are well this evening. I'm just making sure that we are live because last week, halfway through the session, we weren't live and I got a phone call from Helen saying, panic, that we're not actually live on Facebook. So let me just double check that we are before we get started. I hope everybody's well. We have a great session planned for us today. So we're talking in our Safe Space Spotlight, which is our new, very funky name for this session. Today we're talking all about careers and employment. So we are joined by two very special guests, really good friends of the Safe Space crew. We have recruiter Alex Scholes with us today. She is from Antal, DIFC. She is a recruiter. She's been working in this space for many years. I won't always reveal the number just because the lady never reveals her age. And I think most interesting about Alex's background and the reason why we wanted to come bring her here on the chat today is not only because she has experienced both agency and in-house recruitment for huge brands. She was actually unfortunately made redundant at the beginning of the lockdown, so can totally empathize and talk from first-hand experience of a lot of what I'm imagining quite a few of our followers are going through at the moment. So hi Alex, how are you?
Hello, yes, very well, thank you. Excited for our chat today.
Good, good. And we're also blessed to have Samia Hassan back with us. Samia is an epic careers coach and the founder of Unwind The Grind, which we will tag in the Facebook group after this, which you definitely all should be following. She has actually, this is her second time having a conversation with us on Safe Space, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time because she's full of inspiration, wisdom and guidance in this topic. So she was definitely the best person to be able to come on and help guide this conversation that we're going to have today. So hey Samia, how are you?
Hey, good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I am still just trying to figure out if we are live on Facebook. So do bear with me just 1 second while I'm trying to kind of multitask because it isn't my strong point. And it shouldn't be anybody's strong point. We're too much fascinated with this concept of trying to multitask, but I do...
It's a lie that it can be done effectively, I think.
We are there, so just bear with us 1 second. All the fun at the fair with technology. It is always my friend. Let's see. And also, that is my children in the background. We're gonna have a really fun session today, I am sure. Sorry guys. Can anybody else see if we're live on the Facebook group? I think we are. Oh, I think we are. I think we are. Okay, good. Right, I can breathe again. Sorry, fun times. This is real life, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get back into this. Let's talk about unemployment. Well, employment in general, careers. We've had, a situation that we've all been part of this storm, and a lot of people have really been feeling it when it comes to our jobs. So whether you have been lucky enough to keep your job and keep your full salary, I'm sure that lots of those people will report working at 250% with elements of fear, trying to make sure that they keep that job. Definitely within sort of friends and family, having their job, maybe working at reduced capacity and reduced salary, which is like another sort of variable. People who have unfortunately had their roles no longer being available. We obviously been here in Dubai, the aviation industry, so many people from the big airlines have unfortunately lost their jobs in this kind of situation. So I think it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum, everybody has definitely been feeling it at this point. So what I wanted to just kind of like bring to the forefront and in this conversation is kind of talking a little bit about, very sort of transparently about what this kind of like feels like, first and foremost. So Samia, maybe let's start with you. And I'm sure Alex can actually, contribute on this too. Being employed and losing your job sucks. absolutely sucks. I've been made redundant 3 times, I think, in my career. Didn't feel great at any point at the time, until a little bit later. There was definitely there was a method to the madness, let's say. It all worked out in the end, which I'm very grateful for. But in that sort of sense, what are some proactive ways, some initial steps that we can really start to address our mindset when the chips are down, and when our job is no longer?
Sure. Yeah, you rightfully said it sucks. And I think just to acknowledge the fact on how bad it sucks is the starting point, because it's grief, right? It's a loss. So anything that you lose, you need to sit with it and give yourself the time and the space and sit with your emotions to grieve and to make time for it. Now, what unfortunately happens is, of course, irrespective of the reason you're made redundant, there's a lot of baggage and self-esteem and confidence associated with it. And if you don't give yourself the time and jump right into finding the next job, you're not doing yourself any favors, because your self-esteem is at an all-time low, especially for those people who haven't really made the effort to do the right things and network and, you know, prepare themselves or gear themselves up for the job hunt. You're already at an all-time low, and then you're going full speed in all your desperate measures because you've given yourself, you know, a timeline of 3 months to 6 months, whatever, in which you have to find the job. And then you start knocking doors and you start asking favors right off the bat, and you do all the wrong things, which are, you know, not covered in any Bible of networking or job search out there. And you send your CV to anybody and everybody without stepping back and really figuring out what is it that you need to do. So I would say, in terms of tips, number one, give yourself the time and space. And when you feel that you are kind of back to feeling yourself and you are, you know, on the path to healing, then even if it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, it's fine, because having the right positive mindset is much more important rather than hustling aimlessly. And once you've had that chance, then sit down, sit with yourself and make a plan. So what is your job search plan? How are you going to go about it? Be very specific, the kind of industry, job role, function that you're looking for. What is feasible? What is realistic? How do you come across your whole package, right? Your USP, your LinkedIn, your CV, your cover letter, all of that. And then along with that, this should be always on anyway, but let's say if you haven't taken the time while you were working and you were connected with the right people, even if you're starting from the scratch, take the time to make the list of the relevant people who you need to know. So who is it who is from your existing network in your industry, the people who are part of your industry, the recruiters, the headhunters, people who know the people who are from your industry, and then how you want to tap into those contacts and connections, and not send emails like, please find attached my CV and, you know, help me find a job, but really warm them up to it. You know, the kind of hooks you're going to use, the kind of friends you're going to talk to, get warm leads, warm introductions, talk to as many people as possible. The hardest thing to do is to not come across as desperate, because when people sense there's desperation and, you know, you're really tied to a certain timeline, then it doesn't work. And the other thing is, asking people for favors which are too much also doesn't work. So sending people CVs, or even just telling them, hey, I'm no longer employed, I'm looking for so-and-so job, please help me find it, doesn't work. It's too much of an ask. It's too big an ask. So break it down for them, make it easier. For instance, you can ask for, definitely, like, you know, I've applied to a job in X company and I'm looking for 15 minutes of your time to have an informational interview to learn more about this particular aspect in that function. Okay, doable. People can take out 15 minutes, but help me find a job, you know? So it really, it's tough. It's not easy at all. You have to also, at the same time, I would say, mindset wise, find ways to fill your cup on a daily basis. Because, you know, like, bringing back to the same point of low self-esteem from the redundancy, coupled with continued low self-esteem and leaky bucket from the job search process, where there'll be a lot of rejections along the way. If you don't consciously and proactively fill your cup, you won't be able to do it. You'll just feel burnt out and you won't be in the right mindset. So be it self-compassion, self-care, learning, educating, having the mindset of, like, you know, really being kind and compassionate towards yourself, finding the right people, the tribe of people you can trust, you can talk to, you can vent, you can share, who make you feel valued, make you feel heard, is really important. Yeah.
I always find that sort of quite fascinating. A lot of this, we're talking today about finding a job, and actually we keep bringing up these good old safe space topics of kindness and compassion and awareness and pausing and breathing and mindset. It really does filter into every aspect of our life, and obviously job, career, our ability to earn money and provide, for the things that we need and want. It's really kind of like basic stuff, isn't it? So of course that's going to shake us. Alex, maybe just following a little bit from that sort of question, how was it for you, and especially being somebody who is in the industry, having to really go through it. So I imagine did give you a lot of empathy for the scenario. And off the back of that, I'm sure you found yourself in a space where you were competing for these sort of elusive roles. Everyone's kind of saying the chips are down, so what are we, what are the jobs that are out there? And as a recruiter, were you able to put your recruiter hat on and almost kind of like, what were the practical steps that you took to get yourself back into a role?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went through sort of all the same emotions that everyone does. I actually was made redundant twice. So the first time I was kind of prepared for it and sort of ready to move on, and then I fell into the role I was in that I later got made redundant from due to COVID, which was really disappointing. I kind of saw it happening, so you kind of do prepare yourself for that. It's disappointing. I suppose being a recruiter, obviously I should be very well prepared to find myself another job, so maybe it's easier for me than other people. But again, I'm going to probably reiterate a lot of Samia's points that mindset is everything. And I actually often believe, and a lot of what I've done over the last 5 months is working on myself. It's like self-mastery. So, I think you have to master yourself, master your mindset, master the fact that, your thoughts are everything, and what you're allowing yourself to think forms your reality, essentially, isn't it? So working on that and making sure that, once you've made all these applications and you don't hear anything back, it can get very, disheartening. And staying sort of aware of that and just realizing that it is a numbers game. You have to keep going. I'm a big believer that you need to get noticed before you apply. So again, some of what Samia said about networking, if you're not networking, it's just crazy. You need to be making those connections with the right people, knowing what kind of jobs, companies you want to work for, connecting with hiring managers within your function, connecting with HR, connecting with talent acquisition. You want to get seen ahead of the game, join groups, be active, put out content, engage in other people's content. That's absolutely key. When hiring managers and companies and recruiters are putting out content, then engage with that and be seen. But look, people want to, everyone needs, in this day and age, it's all about adding value, in my opinion. So solve a problem. Look at the jobs that are being listed and think, okay, well, how do I fit into that? Do I hit all of the criteria that they need? If you don't, then just don't apply, because a big bugbear for some of us is having to go through a lot of applications that aren't relevant, and it's valuable time that we're sort of missing there. So it's, make sure you're relevant to the jobs that you're applying, because then you're more likely to get a response. If you're scattering the market and you're not, relevant to 50% of the jobs you're doing, it's, you're actually not really helping yourself there. So make sure you're very relevant. Maybe start with a headline when you do make an application. So mention maybe a problem that you can solve for the position required, as that's a big headline that people will open and see straight away. Because you've got to be, I think they say, again, recruiters or anyone takes about 3 seconds or maybe 8 or 10 seconds to review a CV. We see hundreds and hundreds a day, so it really is about having that relevant information there first. And don't write an email where it says please review my profile in LinkedIn, because you're making more work for me. Help recruiters make their jobs easier for them, if you like, and that will definitely help you get noticed. Again, what was I going to say? Yeah, sort of referrals. If you know anyone within the business, or you've been building that network, and the hiring managers know someone that again, make those contacts as well. But again, guys, you're probably aware your CV is extremely important in terms of getting noticed as well. Clear, easy to read. We don't want to see these different fonts, different colors, different, again, something when we're opening that profile, it wants to talk about your accomplishments, and it wants to talk about, just be easy to view chronologically, sort of all the way through. So
really great practical, you know, information is definitely at this point, because I think, you know, combined with that mindset, practical information, that feels like it's the sort of recipe for success almost. And I imagine it's probably quite overwhelming being out there bombarded with, you know, if someone is looking to do their CV, for example, and you Google, how do I make the best CV? There's probably thousands and thousands of sites and gurus out there that are probably not at this point just giving you advice, but also trying to sell you some kind of CV templates, and a lot of that out there at the moment, which is, I can imagine.
We see a lot of them, don't we, Samia? I'm sure.
Just trying to get ahead here, guys. Can everyone just give me the real answer? So we have people that are here in the Zoom room with us today, and I've left the link for anyone that is watching Facebook. If you would like to ask Samia or Alex any questions, please use the Q&A button that's at the bottom of the Zoom room. We've got a couple of questions that we have submitted, and I know Alex has to leave just 10 minutes earlier, so we'll try and squeeze whatever.
We've got a good half an hour.
Just to help us, you know, as much as we can be here having this conversation, if you do have any specifics, we would love to throw those into the mix. So please, if you do have any questions, come into the Zoom room and use the Q&A button below. So Samia, back to you, and talking a little bit about that space of maybe overwhelm. We're in a place where we don't have work, or we don't have the work that we want. You know, maybe we've had to kind of make do at this point, not potentially enjoying where we are at also. What are some ways that we can start seeing the bigger picture in all this? We were just talking a little bit before offline, weren't we? One of the questions that's been submitted was, you know, is it as bad out there as we really think it is, or we've been told to think it is? And your initial comment about finding some space, you know, it feels like a really rational thing to do, but maybe at that time when you're like so frantic, you know, almost things the hardest thing to do. So what can we do to find this bigger picture right now?
Sure. Yeah, and we were talking earlier as well that although, you know, a lot of people are losing jobs and are unemployed, there are people out there who have jobs and stable jobs, and they realize how lucky and privileged they are to be in that position. But at the same time, the pandemic has also made people realize what they really truly want in life, and has got them somehow, because of everything we've gone through, closer to their meaning and purpose. So let's say what I'm finding, you know, with the clients that I work with, let's say if a year or 2 years ago, they were not quite ready to pursue their passions or their purpose or work on it. Right now, even though they have a job, they really want to work on it, because they don't want to waste any more time doing the work that they don't enjoy doing. And then, you know, when we start working on it, it's really stepping back and delving deeper within yourself in terms of what is it that makes you happy. And the starting point of this self-awareness, self-discovery journey is really understanding your criteria. So what are the factors that are important to you when it comes to work, your values, what is non-negotiable in the way you work, your strengths. So I'm a strengths-based coach. We really work on, you know, your signature strengths, how to leverage it, how to hone it, how to see what are the blind spots that you're oblivious to, working on your passions. So it's let's say a mix of conscious thinking and psychometrics, personality profiling, coupled with a lot of subconscious, which is where 90% of our, you know, mind is and decisions are made, and tapping into that through a lot of positive psychology, NLP, visualizations, to change your internal state and tap into where your conscious mind cannot go. So let's say we want to figure out all of this, the criteria, the values, the passions, the strengths, through conscious, through subconscious, through a lot of interactive exercises, really tapping into your experiences, your skill set, and bringing it all together to form, let's say, a career path that you think is the right fit for you. So when we delve deeper, let's say we spend, you know, 5, 6, 7 hours, however many, to then come to a place where the people can themselves define, okay, based on what I've learned about myself through the self-discovery process, these are 1, 2, 3 potential areas which could be right for me. And then we go out to the external world and see what is feasible. what the world needs, what the world is ready to pay for, both in terms of business and jobs, what are the kind of jobs that are out there that is feasible. And because changing careers is not easy. Imagine people are finding it so hard to find jobs in the same careers, in the same job functions, and think about a career change. Because even both in terms of the way it's practically set up, the ATS, the tracking, job applications, it really filters you out. So what I tell people more who are changing careers is, rather than again banking on passively sitting behind the screen and applying to all random jobs out there, and banking a lot on your CV, spend all that time in knowing people, building connections, friends of friends, referrals, word of mouth, and really present your best foot forward as much as you can, because you have to showcase how your skills are transferable, going from one industry to another, how you're gonna add value to an organization if you're looking for a job, or whether it's in the case of your business. And it's really important for you to touch as many people as possible. And we know 80% of the people globally find jobs through networking, so it's not a surprise. And that's where the number one effort should be, and that also actually makes you feel less rejected, so to speak, because you're not going to apply for 25 jobs and get 24 rejections 3 weeks later after pestering them 15 times. You're gonna get inspired because you're going to put yourself out there. You're going to be out of your comfort zone. You meet people, they introduce you to new people. One door leads to another, you learn new things along the way. Now, this is something that doesn't come naturally to most people. So we work on that, on how to make sure networking is not done as a chore, not done as something transactional, make it more relational, make it more something, you're in it for the long haul. It's not like, you're going to add them, send them first message, have one coffee meeting, and that's it. It takes time. So you have to prepare yourself mentally to go slow. So, coming back to the point of having the time. So these people who have jobs, even though they're miserable in those jobs, at least they're covered financially, and they have that financial cushion, if not the right mindset, to not worry about how I'm going to put food on the table. And then you can work on these things in parallel. And again, it's your purpose, it's your mission that drives you, to make the change.
And I think, Alex, you kind of touched a little bit about those sort of connections in the first sort of question as well, and about the importance of those, like coupled with what sort of Samia was just saying, and maybe just kind of take a bit off piece here. So when you kind of found yourself in that space where your role was no longer available, what were some of the things that you did in that instance? Because I know, because we're friends, that you've been very busy behind the scenes. What are some of the ways that you personally have been maybe doing some of the stuff that sort of Samia said, maybe even not fully intentionally, but what are some of the things that you've been up to in this process?
Yeah, so I would say I've been probably busier in the last 6 months than I've ever been, working on so many various things, being like a master of my own time and being able to explore my passions and things that I was really interested in. So I've been recruiting for sort of around 14 years or so. It is a long time. And I did feel actually when it happened, I was like, we were in lockdown. So it was like, oh, I need a break. Like I just needed to take some time. I could do some freelance stuff. But I just thought, no, I need to clear my head for 4 weeks, get my head around what's happening, re-explore what am I interested in, like what excites me. I was like, how can I, because initially I thought, right, we're in lockdown. I'm not going to be finding a job anytime particularly soon. So how can we get creative? How can we look at a side hustle? And I've actually got quite a few friends who have started businesses on the side during this time, which I just think is inspirational and, really impresses me. So I threw myself into personal development. I thought, again, with the positivity thing, and for me, some of the 6 psychological needs, let's say, are contribution and like progression, aren't they? Sort of learning and things. So as long as I was learning and progressing every day still, then I didn't feel like my world was in disarray. So I threw myself into learning new things. So I did an HR qualification. I looked at digital marketing, because again, marketing is key for anyone, even people looking for jobs and needing to market themselves. And then I got in, I'm huge on the fitness space. So for me, I started, I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone and start doing things I've never done before, which really has probably led me almost to where I am today, to doing this talk, to now, starting work back with an agency where I can now help multiple companies with hiring issues and problems, and hopefully help them and job seekers, resolve issues that they have, and help people, you know, help match great people with great careers, if you like. But you do need to get, you know, you need to take that time to reflect and go, okay, what is my why in life? Like, I personally genuinely love helping people. Like, you know, I think a life of contribution is, you know, really does help for fulfillment and things like that. So when your why, you know, as a result of trying to attain that, you know, money is a result. I think anyone that's just purely driven by money, you know, it's not as fulfilling. But if you know you want to help people, and then there's different routes to doing that. So for me, recruitment is helping people achieve their fitness goals. And then again, for me, the mental health psychology side is just something that I'm hugely passionate about anyway. So because I spend a lot of time studying that and understanding it, I could help myself deal with the mental battles I had, or any of the self-doubt that I might have had over my own ability. It was like, no, I'm going to sharpen my saw and strengthen those skills and put them into practice. Because I think once you push yourself out of your comfort zone and do something you're not used to, your comfort zone changes. It becomes something new, right? So I've massively gone through that process in the last 5 months, and I'm thrilled to be where I am now, and looking forward to where things will go. Just taking it back to obviously some of our viewers and people watching this, it's communication is key. And again, defining your pitch, crisping up your pitch, a good professional pitch that you can put across on email, or I'll get your opinion on something in a moment actually, is really key. Because if you can communicate what you want and what your strengths are and what you don't want, a recruiter is far better placed to communicate that to employers. So once you know exactly where you're going, what you want, what your strengths are, you know, what your drawbacks are, be honest, be transparent, you know, people can help you more, and that really comes across in a message when you're applying, and will make you stand out. One thing I did want to ask, so video interviews or video sort of CVs or something, I suppose, are quite a big thing coming up, maybe in more creative industries like marketing. But you know, even if you really want to stand out and do something different, or either, Samia, like you said earlier, asking a hiring manager for coffee for an information interview, not even a real interview, turning up with a big presentation and being like, I can solve X, Y, and Z. I mean, wow, that's going to impress anyone. But even a short video interview where they can see you, they can see your personality, you've probably got 15, 30 seconds to sort of impress from that. But that's another way to hit people with something completely different and, you know, get noticed.
I think there's got to be a lot of creativity and thinking out the box at this point, for sure, and just making sure that you are one of the ones that I'm sure as a recruiter, and I know that when I've posted jobs, when the agency that I used to work at, like hundreds and hundreds of CVs through a LinkedIn job post. I'm just like, what did I do? Why did I, you know? And in the end, just kind of, as somebody was just so overwhelmed, it was like an account manager role, and people were applying with accountancy backgrounds, and it was just like, oh. So I think there's definitely
it's so frustrating.
That empathy, like putting yourself in the shoes of the recruiter or the HR manager, or even the network or the contact, like really having that time to think, well, what is it going to be that's going to speak to them in a way that they want to be spoken to, but with stuff that they want to hear right now. I find it very interesting that you looked into digital marketing as well, because I think there's a lot happening now, very much around sort of like personal brand, around using kind of like tools and platforms like LinkedIn, and how to really squeeze the best out of them. I found out recently that in the sort of LinkedIn messages, you can actually send video messages, you can send like voice notes as well through LinkedIn as well.
Well, I've seen that recently. I just saw that today, yeah.
Little cool hacks, you know, and like you were saying, in order to really get to the front of that queue, to that person, that HR manager, whoever it is, to be able to get your point across, that's, you know, you feel you are the best person for the job. It's almost kind of like detective work, isn't it? Finding the kind of the sneaky side door and how to get into this process. But I probably should be a bit mindful that, and again, as someone that has lost the job multiple times, we keep like talking about getting out of our comfort zone. I think I remember some days it was just so hard to just even get out of bed, to even face this music. Like oh God, what have I done? Why me? Why did this happen to me? I'm not ready for this. I didn't have the sort of financial, backing that why was I not saving beforehand? Like it almost would spiral into this kind of, this real vicious cycle of not then really being able to move forward. And I think everything that we've talked about, yeah, brilliant, makes sense, fantastic. But what if we are, like, and Samia, maybe you can kind of chime in this, what if we are just feeling so unbelievably crap about this whole thing that getting out of our comfort zone feels like it's a trillion billion miles away for us to begin?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's important to assess where you are. So if, let's say, after you've lost your job, you've given it a couple of weeks, maybe month, 2 months, and you still feel really crap day in, day out, I think it's important to not just self-assess at that point, to see someone, see a coach, just do an assessment on where you stand, because you might be going through depression, which a lot of people are going through. And in that case, it's critical to see a professional who knows how to deal, with that situation. If it's not that, and it's the day-to-day blues of, obviously whatever you're going through, I would say also mark the days on which you're going to be job hunting or searching, and there should be days where you're not doing that, because it can take all of it, everything. So the networking and the applying and fixing your CV, personal brand, everything, because you're doing so much and you are putting yourself out there constantly, and you're not receiving enough. You're not receiving enough validation, acknowledgement, feedback. You're not in a workplace anymore where you're leveraging your strengths and achieving and getting results. So your cup is not filling at all. So you need to find ways to relax, definitely, but also you need to find ways to showcase your proof of work in a setting where you get validation. What do I mean by that? So if you're not in the workplace and not getting validated, if you're not obviously receiving, there are not enough interviews lined up and there's not enough hustle yet on your job search, you need to be involved in areas where you are naturally, organically using your strengths and doing things that make you feel good. So one of the ways I, for instance, fill my cup is by helping others. Again, similar to what Alex said, my mission is to obviously help others, enable people, see who they are, achieve what they're capable of. So when people come to me, even outside of professional coaching as clients, I always try to make them see things about themselves that they are maybe too close to see, and they're not, they don't have that perspective. And I naturally fill my cup with that because I feel good, because I'm using my natural strengths of influence and strategy and all of that stuff. So figure out what your strengths are, what are you good at, and you need to continuously contribute with those strengths. You can do that in an informal setting with friends, socially, hobbies, passions, joining groups, communities. You can also, in lucky times, we have LinkedIn, you have Instagram, you have all the social media out there. Showcase your proof of work through writing, speaking, do thought leadership kind of stuff where you are really, related to your industry function, whatever, you are writing inspirational content and putting it out there, which achieves two objectives. On one hand, you get validation because people like, comment, engage in conversation, and you feel that you've put out something of value for people, in the realm of your industry and your space. And two, you are standing out, because versus other job seekers who are not doing that, you are making videos, you're giving talks, you're attending webinars, you're speaking at webinars, depending on wherever you are, you're writing articles, you're getting recommendations from prior colleagues. So you're showcasing your proof of work on the platform, for instance, LinkedIn, which is super relevant and will make you stand out. And that will give you that, filling your cup in a way that will make you feel, okay, it's not just the job search, I'm doing something else. Also, I would say, do things that maybe you never had the time for before because you were working around the clock 12 to 14 hours a day, and now you have the time but you don't have the motivation or the energy. And what you do is you tell yourself, I'm just going to do it for 5 minutes, and I'll see how it goes. So I'm not even going to finish it, because what happens is the habit loops comes in, right? So you feel triggered and you get into the habit of binging on Netflix or eating that chocolate or whatever that might be, and it's a negative spiral. So it gives you that temporary sense of relief, and you get into it and you keep doing it and you end up stressed. If you don't do that, if you just say, I'm going to write, or I'm going to do yoga, or I'm going to work out, I'm going to do meditation, whatever that might be, just for 5 minutes, research says that in 80% of the cases, people don't stop at 5 minutes. They continue with it, because you just have to give your prefrontal cortex that trigger of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. So just do it. Get yourself out of bed, change your clothes, don't be in the PJs, and do whatever you want to do. Baby steps, small things, and chances are you will continue with it.
Yeah, I think the importance of routine, personally, I've definitely found the real benefits, when I've kind of worked from home for years, being freelance, but I always had somewhere to go to, a coffee shop. So I kind of had not necessarily a routine, more of like maybe rituals, let's say. Usually get clothes, get makeup, go. But now I've had home and had a bit more time, I've actually got more of a process in the morning that I've found really sets me up for the day, so I can kind of plan. I know what's coming up. There's no surprises. I feel a little bit more in control. Not fully yet. That's in the horizon somewhere, but that's definitely something that I found. I just want to touch on and kind of relate or was triggered again, this sort of finding strengths and values. And I've said this in another couple of talks that we've had as well. I did a sort of like personal development thing about 5 years ago, and one of the questions in this sort of first session was, what are your values? I had no idea. I Googled, if one was to have values, what would the best values, like I had that little idea of self at that point, that I had no idea what my strengths were. I was so kind of like overcome, in that kind of like space where it was just so difficult for me. And hearing you both sort of talk about helping others, it actually took a while for me to get to realize that was something that was important to me, and other thing, honesty and integrity. This is what I hold true. But I was so distant from myself at that point, like from the core of who I was, that I literally had to turn to Google for some inspiration, which, was a ludicrous thing to do, but actually gave me a bit more of ingredients for my brainstorm at that point, and inspired what is important. So I think probably my message to anyone that is watching, being like, yeah, what am I good at, or where are my values at this point? That's maybe something to really focus on. It's not something that maybe comes naturally to everybody straight away. It could be something that you can give yourself a little task to do some soul searching in that place. Another thing that I wanted to sort of touch on about filling your cup, we've really noticed, and like so blessed, so many people have been reaching out to us at Safe Space. How can I help? I'm a graduate in this, and obviously now even like graduate jobs are kind of fewer and far between. So we've had so many people that have reached out to us, be kind of like writers, people with like PR backgrounds, and we have tried to accommodate as many as possible. We were overwhelmed when we put a post out, I think it was a few weeks ago, asking for interns. And I think as well, internships and putting yourself out there. I don't know, maybe Alex, I can get your perspective on this. And there's a movie, isn't there, with like, is it like Will Ferrell who's an intern? Like, is an intern at Google?
The internship, yeah.
There was a movie called The Intern.
Yeah.
I think it was it Thingy Hathaway or something, and Robert De Niro maybe, or I can't remember.
Yeah, yes, that was it. And like we just think like internships are for really youngsters, school kids. What would be your sort of take on somebody that's maybe there aren't the opportunities out there right now for somebody, but doing things like that, applying for roles that maybe don't even exist, or putting yourself out there for, to companies, like ideal companies that you want to work for, perhaps? Is that a good idea? Is that something to work towards?
As you're saying, as like a fresh graduate, for example, or someone.
Anybody.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, anybody in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, like I said, it's I think really important to build your network and get noticed by the right people. So whatever profession you're in, if there are specific companies you really aspire to, and it's not easy to get in initially, it's all about touch points, right? It's all about speaking to the right people. It's all about getting noticed. It's about going to the network events that you know these hiring managers are going to be at, because from that perspective, when there's not a specific role to apply for, and you just know that, let's say as an IT professional, your number one goal is to work for Google, you know, then based on what your specific skill for them would be, you know, again, you know, even on the basic LinkedIn website, you can go in and there are search functions. You can put in Google and type, you know, some of the keywords that you're in, and start, you know, connecting and adding, and put a personalized invitation message onto that, whether it's like, you know, we're dynamically connected in the same industry, but I realize we're not connected yet, let's rectify that. Something really short and sweet, or something that adds a little token that adds value to them in whatever way, an insight into, you know, the area of speciality that you have, let's say. And when they connect, then you can send them a message. Again, start, like I said before, engaging with their content, putting out your own content, in the hope that they might see it if you are connected with them. Once you first line, then they're going to start seeing what's on your feed. So acting like a thought leader or someone that can add value there. Again, in groups or subjects that are being discussed, you know, again, add your opinion and just get noticed by these people. You know, find out who they are, hang out where they hang out, send them direct messages, ask them if you can go for coffee for advice. Generally, people like helping people. A lot of people don't have the time, but put yourself out there. The worst thing people can say is, no, I don't have time. And then, you know, you're in their mind, and then you can drop in another month's time or whatever. And if you're always there, you know, eventually things happen.
Persistence at that point.
Persistence is key. That's a stone cutter, isn't it?
So we have a few questions. If anyone does have any questions, we've probably got about 10 minutes left in this chat today. So we've got a couple of questions that I will kind of field out. We can just have a general chit chat around as well. So the first question is, how do we counter a job profile with less number of years requirement? So the job applicant has more work experience. So I think in this sense, where if we have less experience than what's being asked for, how can we counter that gap? I don't know, maybe Alex, do you want to?
Yeah, so you're saying if it's asking for 15 years and you've got 12 or less, sort of thing. You know, in that, it's fine to apply as long as you're still relevant for that job and it's just the number of years experience. Then again, I think the best thing that you can really do, like I said, is try and add value and have that headline or that like pitch point that is just instantly seen, where you're talking about your achievements and accomplishments. Because, you know, a lot of people want to see sort of tenure on someone's CV, but also someone that is contributing. And there are a lot of younger people who, you know, are really applying themselves and moving up the chain a lot more quickly and promoted based on merit. So I think if you can get that across in terms of the contribution you had to a previous employer and, you know, what you've done and achieved, then, you know, you would like to think that that would still get noticed. It is a bit disheartening. There are a lot of people out here where they do want to, you know, they don't want to see CVs unless they specifically hit the mark. But, you know, us recruiters, again, when we're talking to them, if we know exactly what you're doing, we do try and counteract that as much as possible. So, yeah.
So we ran a session, it's called I Am Remarkable. We ran it quite a few weeks ago, and it's very, one of the key stats at the beginning is talking about the disparity, usually between men and women, about when they see a job description. Women are more likely to only apply for a job that they 110% tick every single box, versus men that would apply even if they were they didn't really tick every box, but they knew that they were the right person for the job, which I found quite fascinating, mind blown a little bit in that process. I'm totally that statistic. I would never send my CV. I would never waste anybody's time. So British of me, that, you know, I didn't tick any of the boxes. You know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's like one of those big things. But I'm just actually rereading the question, and maybe just if in case I've not interpreted it correctly, let's flip it on its head. And maybe I think this is probably something that's happening quite a lot at the moment, when you have tons of experience, but you're applying for, you know, maybe you're a director at some point, but you're now applying for an exec or a manager role. What are some ways that you can kind of package it that way? as well, upside down.
Yeah, I think in both cases it's because
Samia,
you need to. Yeah, sure. I already started, sorry. So I think in both cases, it's important to know that the way recruiters are going to filter you out is also by experience. So you might not even on the ATS tracking show up, because if it's 10 to 15 years and you have 5 or 20, you're going to be filtered out. So again, make sure that you have a personalized cover letter, and in the CV and whatever mediums you're using to either reach the recruiter or the hiring manager, you are highlighting how you can add value to the organization in a very specific way. So your pitch should talk about who do you help, what's your promise, what's in it for them. So if you have 20 years of experience while the role requires 10, how are you a fit in their organization, in the culture, and for the job role? So you need to talk about your prior experiences, give examples, know what they're struggling with or what their priorities are, their objectives are for their organization, and how you can take an example. If let's say it's about digital marketing, do a quick audit. Just do a quick audit and see how their digital marketing is, how their SEO is, how they're performing, and offer a couple of tips and suggestions on, I had a look and this is what I think should be done. And always, in the case of being senior for a junior role, highlight your behavioral aspects a little bit more on how you're agile, how you're flexible, how you're a team player, collaborative, work with anybody. And rather than just throwing in these adjectives there, back them up with quantifiable, measurable examples. I think on the CV front, what I see 100% of the time, what people do is they don't write their experience in sort of the way they should write the achievements. So it's either a copy paste of the JD, what they were supposed to do, or there's a lot of fluff in there. So you need to have quantifiable, measurable achievements on what exactly was you did and what was the impact of that on the business. And if you have enough examples of that and you are tailoring and customizing your CV and your cover letter to every single role you're applying for, I don't see any reason why, a couple of years here or there should make a big difference.
Yeah, I think so. The person who asked the question clarified that actually it was the latter. So it was the example that we were just talking about then, when, and I imagine there's lots of people in this scenario right now that there are probably, and it makes sense, right? Because companies won't want to be investing maybe in, directors, higher salary members of staff. They're wanting to kind of like maybe have more juniors on the team so they can be a bit more nimble and flexible. But from if you know that you not only tick every single box, but you are exceed everything, but then the recruiter is just not accepting. And then maybe Alex, you have experience of this, not accepting anybody that has too much experience. I like what Samia was saying about focusing on the behavioral side, because I imagine that's something that you probably have to convince an employer that you can be a junior at the sort of mentality side of it. Have you come across that, Alex, from your side?
I mean, I suppose this is going to happen a lot more at the moment, where people are being made redundant and sort of forced into looking at lower level roles just to start earning again. So again, I've not really been working the last 5 months to sort of notice that it doesn't happen all that often. But like you said, I think just packaging it up correctly, showing how you can add value, showing that you are committed. Because again, that's key, because longevity and stickability is going to be in the sort of the employer's mind in terms of, once things pick up and everything goes back to normal, are you likely to get poached to leave for another role again? So it's just overcoming those sort of concerns and fears and getting your sort of character across and sort of how committed you are to want to help them achieve their objectives and things.
Yeah, for sure. Now I know, Alex, you need to rush to your next gig.
I do, I'm afraid.
So we'll say goodbye to you just now, Alex. Thank you so much
for classes.
Maybe we can hang around for a few more minutes. But Alex, thank you for all your support in this session, and giving us a lot of insight from your background. So we're very grateful.
Thank you, guys. It's been a real great pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. My first panel discussion, hopefully one of many more. So really enjoyed it. And look, if anyone wants to get in touch with me on LinkedIn or anywhere for any kind of advice, obviously do reach out. I do try and respond to everyone and get back to people as I can. So take care and good luck to everyone.
Thanks, Alex.
See you.
Thanks.
So Samia, the next question that's come in, and maybe we've talked a little bit about this, maybe just kind of going back into it, So about
Mhm.
changing industry. So what can we do if, again, there's probably so many people that were displaced in aviation, especially, cabin crew, pilots, that's pretty much what they've done their whole careers. And now looking at a sense where maybe that's not going to be an industry to really be waiting around for in that sense. So what can we do if we need to shift industry completely?
So in this case, do they know what they want to do, or it's just blank?
It's quite vague in the question. So how do we approach a vacancy in a different industry if you're looking to change?
Okay, so I think if you don't know, if you don't know, then it's back to what I said earlier on figuring out, self-discovery, delving deeper, see what you want to do. And if you already know that this is the industry you want to apply for, then of course you shift your networking gear towards that industry. So again, you make the list of, okay, in this new industry, who are the right people, the right stakeholders I need to build connections with, the recruiters, the headhunters, the people working. I always tell people, have a list of target companies you want to join. Even if you don't end up joining them, it's similar or related. Just having a list is important because it helps you, it forces you into being more specific. So from that list, you can see, okay, who from my existing network works there? Who from my existing network knows people who might work there, or knows people who knows whoever, who, you can at least land there. And through this, in a different industry, you learn a lot of things. So you're building information, right? You're not gonna immediately right off the bat get a job. So you're finding out what are the differences in this industry, in the way you need to look for a job, in the way work is done, in terms of pay structure, in terms of the hiring processes, even in terms of the typical job search process, what are the keywords and the way interviews are done. So you need to find out all of this information. And then once you gain that information from an external perspective, then you'll go back to your drawing board and you will repackage yourself in a way that meets the need of this industry. Because every industry is a little bit different. Some are more technical, some are more commercial, more behavioral. The way in each company the interviews and the hiring process is done, or what you're expected to do once you're hired, is different. So then you'll go back and you will package and position and brand yourself and have your USP done that caters to that industry. And to do that, you will highlight on the transferable skills a lot, on what you have, because again, nobody can take away from you all your years of prior experience, right? So even if it's not in this upcoming industry you want to join, at least you can have things that you've done that are relevant to this new industry. But you can only make that link of the transferable skills if you understand what is required or what is the skill set of this new industry. So it's easy to say that I want to move from HR to marketing, or when I move from aviation to pharmaceutical, but you have to understand and build your skill set and gain, upskill, gain information, knowledge, talk to people on what is it that is actually required. The other thing I want to say is that job search in any case is a long process. We've said it so many times, but it can get really, really grueling. And while you are doing this and looking for a job, there's nothing, and Alex touched upon it earlier as well, there's nothing stopping you from starting a side hustle. So what a side hustle can do is that even if you don't start making money immediately from the onset, at least it helps you direct your energies and your passion and your strengths in a positive direction. So it's one way of filling your cup. So whatever side hustle is, if it's helping people or launching, not launching, but let's say trying, practicing, improvising on some side business, helping a friend with their startup, or getting involved through an internship somewhere, whatever you can do to add value, to display and portray your skills, to meet new people that will further enable your networking, do it. Don't just sit back and wait and wake up every day and go and apply for jobs.
Yeah, it feels that there's a real sort of space, like you said, rather than just sort of spending all day, every day applying for jobs and being knocked back, that actually would be a lot more productive for our 24 hours of our day, compartmentalizing, actually just spending a lot of time getting to know, researching, understanding, contacting, networking. It's almost kind of like everything not applying for jobs actually will be so vital at this stage. And I think, especially what we're talking about moving industries, I think obviously recruiters, everything, not just recruiters, but actually companies at this point probably just want to make sure that they get a person that's going to fit into their cookie cutter, aren't they? So if you're in an FMCG company, you're going to want someone that's got an FMCG background, because they understand the nuances of the market and how it works. And actually, it's not just what we see as a shopper on the shelf in Carrefour, but actually there's a lot more depth to that. And if you're someone that comes from an electronics background, actually spending the time to really understand the FMCG world is going to be a really good use of your time to then add that additional information into your cover letter to say, I know that I'm an experienced director in marketing from an electronics background. FMCG, I understand the overlap, what again, that sort of soft skills in this world that will transfer and be able to tick these boxes. You're showing that you've kind of got that, got that sort of vision of what it all looks like. And I think, again, having that sort of empathy with a recruiter that's probably receiving hundreds of emails, and just actually their job is to get the ones that they think the client is going to be the most happy with. And maybe I can say this now, Alex has gone, you kind of you're hitting that kind of roadblock, aren't you? There's got to be there's so many other avenues to really be able to get through in that sense. So
like I know one person who very, of course, she had to work a long time, but she very smartly got a contractual assignment for 6 to 8 months with a company which was changing industries big time. And, again, saying that, okay, I'm willing to work for a part-time contractual basis on XYZ terms, which obviously in terms of monetary terms is not the same as a full-time job, and showcased her skills and everything that she delivered for that company. And that gig, for instance, led her to another short-term contractual 6 to 8 months gig at another company. So through this, what you're doing is you're not sitting idle, you're gaining experience, and you are softly transitioning your way into a new industry by making it easier for them to hire you. Because like you said, like the supply is abundant, that when you have thousands of people who fit the bill to the T, why would they go out of their way and look out of the box and look for people who don't belong to that industry or don't have as many number of years of experience?
Yeah, and I think that's where trying to look at ways to bypass the recruitment process a little bit as well. I know, and it must just feel so disheartening to keep applying for things and never even hear back, in that instance. So it's kind of, when you do have, and the person sort of commenting now, recruiters insisting that this is the only place, then time to get creative and look for other ways to find out where those opportunities are, where you can kind of make the connections. Because I can only imagine applying and just getting nothing in return is just soul destroying. And then actually that's going to, like I said, lead to that sort of, that vicious cycle of being, well, what's the point, and and you're in such an all-time low that by the time you even get an interview, you don't ace the interview because of your mindset. Imagine you worked all this while to get that interview, and you go to the interview and it's you bomb. So I know that career coaching is really important. I think it's always, again, it's a bit difficult to sort of say, well, financially I'm not earning anything, so why should I invest in anything right now? But the importance of investing in ourselves in this point can really make the difference between one candidate and the next. So Sammy, just to kind of like wrap up, because I know we're at time just now, what would be some ways that, again, people that are listening in that are experiencing these, not able to transition into different industries or not be able to get the roles, what are some of the ways that they can look into some resources that they can kind of reach out to, and then let us know what's also you're up to as well, so we can let people know how to find you.
Sure. So it's unwindthegrind.com, which is my website. Everything is on there. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Instagram both. So I share a lot of content on how I help, which is very end-to-end in terms of finding your why, which is what we talked about earlier, crafting your what, which is your message and your USP, and acing the how. And the how, typically, especially for job seekers on a timeline and the clock is ticking, is really important because they approach it from such a different way. And sometimes you're burning bridges along the way because you're not saying the right thing and building the right relationships in a relational way. So I help people on acing the house. So how to really look for a job, how to, build relationships, tap into the right, like even using their own existing network. Because people always come and say, but I don't know enough people. And while I was working, I wish I spent the time to build those connections, but I didn't, and I don't have anybody. So then we really work on, okay, it's not like you don't have anybody. It's nobody's coming top of mind right now. So there's a process to it. So you sit down and, check your list, your LinkedIn, your friends, because of course we know so many people, but we don't remember. So we have to revive those connections, somebody you've spoken to 8 years ago, and then, take it from there. So yeah, so it's why, what, how. I help across the board with everything. I think in the last couple of months, the need for career coaching has risen significantly given the space that we're in. So it's been quite busy, but it's good in a way that, of course, I'm trying to help as many people as I can, be it for interview coaching or fixing, their what and their LinkedIn or their resume or the mindset. Mindset and career change is the biggest of all. So yeah.
That's great. It's really fantastic. And I think, yeah, for anyone that didn't catch it, it's unwindthegrind.com. And you can also find Samia on Instagram and social media at unwindthegrindDXB.
Yes. Unwind the Grind DXB on Instagram, and on LinkedIn, Samia Hassan.
Cool. And I think definitely, this is the opportunity we have to, be following people like Samia, be plugged into her content, her words, and it might just be one thing that's, when you are maybe feeling down or overwhelmed or not too sure about this process, there's potentially one thing, one video that she has there on our channel that is really going to be able to speak to you, because we're all at sort of different phases at the moment, that will be able to get you, some answers, or get you onto a path that you'll be able to kind of find those answers yourself, or even open your mind to kind of working with a careers coach, developing your skills in that sense. So I hope today has been useful. It's like how do we cram the world into an hour? It's really difficult. So if there's anything that we've touched on at all today that you would like more information, please do get in touch at any point. You can follow us on social media. We are Safe Space DXB pretty much everywhere. We also have our Facebook group, which is Safe Space Social. It's a closed group. Some people will be watching live on there, but for those who are in our Zoom room, do come and join us in that group, because we share a lot more. And it's more of it's a closed group. It's our safe space where we can kind of really help people. If you've got any further questions, you can also reach out to us at hello@wearesafespace.com. So thank you, Samia, so much for your insights, your inspiration. It's always great to have you on board. And yeah, please make sure that you guys follow Samia on LinkedIn and Instagram, and Unwind the Grind is definitely somewhere that you want to be looking at today. And hopefully we get to hang out again sometime, Samia, soon. We'll have to.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was, it's always great to be part of Safe Space webinars. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. Keep at it. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's great. I'm just going to put the Facebook group link in the chat in the Zoom room so we can cross-pollinate. People can kind of go over. And if you are watching in the Zoom room too, this video is going to be live on the Facebook group, so you can at any point rewatch multiple times. If there was something that you didn't quite catch, you can go back and listen to it in the Facebook group as well. So thanks everybody, good night for now. Join us next week, where I think we're going to be talking about self-love and self-care, but true Danny style. I'm just chasing my tail a little bit at the moment, so I'm just yet to get a date sorted, but bear with us and we will make sure that you are the first to know what our spotlight is for next week. So if you're not already, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn as well, and we will catch up with you soon. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.
Bye.